What's that up there on private land then? Is that a peel tower? Well, I duddo, to be honest. It's not an area of history I know very much about. Now, you may have noticed that I just said I duddo then, as opposed to I don't know. It was a play on words, probably misjudged, because this week I am in the village of Duddo in Northumberland, and I'm here to investigate a perplexing stone circle that takes its name from this place. We are antique ambling to consider the following. How many Duddo stones actually are there, and is it right that you can only ever see 4 on approach? Have they been messed with as suggested by Aubrey Burl in the 70s, and do they subsequently rock in their sockets? I'll be testing that. And just how old is this most striking and unusual of British stone circles? And because this is not down south, I'll wager that most of you will have never heard of this place. No cash, no problem, it says in this disused telephone box. And the reason I'm sheltering in this today is because after months and months of drought and hose band pipes, the heavens have opened. So this is going to be our first, I think, challenging video for quite some time in terms of the weather. I'm actually very excited about this one. I've wanted to come here for years. It was actually suggested as a video idea by one of our most loyal viewers and Institute members, Phil Collinson. Thanks for suggesting it. Now, a little bit about access. It is entirely on private land. I think it's technically looked after by English Heritage, but it is on private land, and that land owner very generously provides this access to it. There is a lay-by. I see I am not alone here today, and then a clearly signed permissive path out across the fields to the stone circle. Now, Duddo, the village that the stone circle takes its name from these days, is nothing to do with the stone circle. It's Old English. It's a person's name, Dud, and then How for like a spur of land. So I think in Old English it was Dude How. I like that, dude. Oh, just to let you know that ruined tower that I'd hoped we'd better get some footage at, but we were disbarred, totally private, no access. It was a peel tower, and it was destroyed in 1496 by Scots again. That's the second week on the trot. We've been thrashed by the Scots. Since the first edition Ordnance Survey maps, the circle has been shown as Duddo Four Stones by name, and that's right up to now. But anorakly, some, such as this 1963 edition, show 5 stones and the positions of, as opposed to a more common generic 3 dots that we see on most of the maps. Nonetheless, it is sometimes also known as Duddo Five Stones, Duddo Stone Circle, the Women, the Singing Stones, and the Turnip Pickers. An old tale attributed the construction to 1558, recording the Battle of Grindon, a rare win for the English. But that is nonsense, and look where that battlefield actually was in relation to the stones. On the way then to the UK's weirdest stone circle, I sense a thumbnail in that. The drone, incidentally, will not be up today. Accounts range then of there being between 4 to 6 standing stones during the 19th century. In 1852, James Raine describes an outer circle at the usual distance, whatever that means. 1890, Robert Carr digs, and he identifies 2 empty sockets located to the northwestern side of the circle, and advises us that 2 stones had been removed 50 years before. He found a central pit with bone, and from that point on the assumption became that this was a late Neolithic, early Bronze Age feature. Sometime after 1903, a 5th stone was re-erected, and in 1995 cup marks were identified on at least one of the stones. Note, this weird thing has already happened today. Whoa. Now, as I make my way up here, I have just had a wonderful glimpse of Duddo Stone Circle on its little hillock ahead of me. I've tried to zoom in with the camera. I doubt very much that will convey anything of the wonder of what I have just seen. Now, looking at this landscape, I would say this is totally a product of 18th century enclosures, regular fields with hedgerows. So the survival of Duddo Stone Circle is something really to wonder at and be thankful for as well, although it has not survived totally unscathed, as we will see. We are about 4 miles south of the border with Scotland here, so I'm not too sure whether I should be doing my "Wahey man," that's my Geordie voice, or whether I should be doing my "Okay, I cannae believe it," that's my Scottish voice. What's that? How about not doing either? Now, I doubt very much you'll be able to make this out, but as I walk up here, the stone circle is so prominent on the ridge through the gap at the end of the field. You can't see it, can you? Oh, I hate using words like wow and amazing too much because I know all the other YouTubers do that, don't they? But as you come across and enter the field that the stone circle sits sort of at the top of, the impression that it gives you is just absolutely awesome. Sorry about that, but it just is. And that is the way ahead through this freshly ploughed field. The problem with inclement weather at this time of year is that I've had to put this waterproof coat on, and yet I'm absolutely baking. Too many layers of tweed, hashtag too hot for tweed still. Anyhow, as I approach what must be the southern side of the stone circle, I want to do a first check with you. Even with a bit of zoom, I don't think you're going to get as good a view of that as me. But yes, I can confirm on this southern side as we approach, we can only see 4 stones. And then it is here where finally, we're pretty close now, we've got a 5th stone coming into view. I won't try and do any pointing, I'll put an arrow to show you where it is. Now, the illusion doesn't seem to really work coming in from the west. I know you lot can count. You can see 5 stones very prominently there. North, up until quite close, only 4 stones are visible. East doesn't work, 5 stones. Well, that remarkable thing was easily scotched, but you will now be aware that today we do have 5 upright stones at the Duddo Stone Circle. One has to be resourceful. I'm using a camera bag there to mop up some of this sweat. Okay, you have probably gathered there are, in fact, 5 stones today. And if I walk round the inside of them here, such that you effectively are positioned to the west. So hopefully you could see that we've got sort of the oval there, and then on this western side, we are open. But there are some stones down here which are probably marking the position of a missing stone. I was impressionable. I remember an episode of The New Avengers where Steve was in the countryside and he threw his umbrella away like that. On this side here, we have some more stones, I think representing a socket for a lost stone. And then here, I don't doubt the camera will show you, it'll flatten it, but we have a bank. And that is not part of the construction. That is the result of 20th century ploughing. I must apologise, it's a bit of a shame, but I'm in a no-fly zone here today, so I can't put the drone up, which is a bit of an odd coincidence because it is Sunday the 7th of September and we're due to have another one of these security test alerts. Now, I don't want you to panic. I know we had one of these a couple of years ago, but there is nothing to read into this. We must not worry about this. Everything in Britain is absolutely fine. It's fine. And I am sure that you lot will have noticed that in the stones here we have these grooves, deeply scoured grooves in the stone. And we've encountered that before on standing stones, haven't we? And I can confirm that here at the Duddo Stone Circle, the same as elsewhere, they were put here as part of the original construction. They are an original period feature of the stone circle. And as you know, that was to enable the blood from the sacrificial victims who were positioned on the top of the stones. Their blood would flow down these channels into the earth to appease the Stone Age gods. We are ticking all the boxes because people claim that here we have a row of a sort of line, effectively, of cup marks. Now, I can confirm I've given them all a good push to see if Aubrey Burl's claims that they wobble in their sockets could be confirmed, and I can advise that that is not the case. They do not wobble, and that was a very nerve-wracking thing to do. More stone circle weirdness when I sent up fake drone V2. Lots of energy jitters, some sort of apparition in the field there, and is this a spectral hound? Whoa. You know, I'm really pleased I'm persevering with this today, despite the weather and the drone restrictions. I don't know what's happening to me, but of late, I am really starting to get the feel of these places. And being stood there in the Duddo Stone Circle, in the rain like that, I mean, even though it's in a very modern farmed landscape, it's very isolated. There's no houses anywhere nearby. And the atmosphere there today in the rain has been, well, it's just been whoa. Anyhow, I have been lucky so far. The security alert, because I am filming obviously on Sunday the 7th of September, so far the security alert hasn't gone off to interrupt that atmosphere. And for those of you that are worrying, please let me reassure you, the government are absolutely clear on this. This is just a drill. They don't think anything bad is going to happen. It's just a drill to remind you, just like you used to do fire drills when you was at school, that sort of thing. So really nothing to worry about. Everything in Britain is okay, and nothing bad is expected to happen. Oh, and I will put that flight restriction on the screen, because I didn't want any of you thinking I was going soft because of some potential involvement of the English heritage in this site. If it had not been that flight restriction, an official one, I would have put the drone up. English heritage would not have stopped me. LTVs, that's long-term viewers, will know that I've got pretty compelling evidence of the fact that it's a real conspiracy, actually, that the English heritage really badly want to stop me from doing this stuff. But no, on this occasion, it was a legitimate flight restriction, nothing to do with them. Incidentally, I did see a Land Rover driving across a field. It was quite some way away, but it was sort of driving towards the general direction of the stone circle. And I did assume that was probably the English heritage security coming out to try and stop me again. But I don't think it was. I think it was a farmer. Anyhow, in 2007, some geophys took place, and then in 2008, an excavation. And as well as trying to establish dates, they were keen to see if they could find any evidence for this outer circular feature. Also, an avenue running off to the west, both of these things coming from sort of 19th century antiquarian notes. Neither of those things appeared. I think if we look at the LiDAR, we can see that the outer circles are clearly a result of farming activity around the circle over hundreds and hundreds of years. Circle. And that is what I think you are looking at on the LiDAR, years of circular ploughing round the now protected monument. They were able to establish a date, and we now know that around 2200 BC, a burning event took place up here, and charcoal from that burning event ended up in 7 socket holes. There were 7 stones originally. And then much later, so we're looking at early Bronze Age for its creation, and then much later on, let's say around about 1760 BC, other peoples came along and they put a burial into the centre of our circle. I'm also just going to point out that a few miles away from here is a place called Millfield, and there are some henges and a series of ring ditches and the like. And interestingly, the burials stop there at around about the time the burials start at the, by then already quite old, Duddo Stone Circle. Coincidence? I don't know, but strange but true, as Michael Aspel used to say. Oh, you know, that stuff I said about the blood running down the channels, I'm afraid that is baloney. The 2008 work showed that these stones were smooth when they were erected, and those channels have been formed by over 4,000 years worth of rain. The stones had been roughly shaped, and they know that wasn't here because there was no stone chippings or flakes to be found. The stones come from a quarry only about a quarter of a mile away. Just had to scare my second lot of visitors away. I told them that they reminded me of turnip pickers. You know what that means here. Now we've had the proper work done in 2008, we understand that this banking that we could see here, along with the canopy effect, the fact that the stones are sort of wider at the top, these are down to later erosional events here. The banking is almost certainly to do with ploughing in the last 150 years or so. And then we've just got the erosion of the ground level itself over, let's face it, you know, it's over 4,000 years. If, like me, you are increasingly susceptible to these sorts of things, then you will hear this stone circle screaming out its rage, because at some point between 1890 and 1934, a farmer took at least one stone out from this western side so that he could bring his plough inside the circle to improve his agricultural yield. And that is quite upsetting. I think the 2008 excavation is a great example of modern archaeology, but not only did it answer the questions that we had about the Duddo stone circle, it also told us something about its modern uses. And they literally found the interior space here to be awash with mumbo-jumbo spiritual crystals. And having a little nosy around today, I could see sign that those sorts are still very much in attendance here in the 21st century. Just jumped on the GoPro for a bit. I want to go down the other side. There's sort of two paths, permissive paths, that lead up to the circle. There's a sign down there, so I thought I wanted to go and have a look at that. As I walk across this deeply ploughed earth, you can't help but wonder what treasures have been destroyed with all this ploughing over the years. But nonetheless, for a lowland landscape, Duddo Five Stones remains a remarkable survivor. Over 4,000 years ago, 7 stones were erected in an imperfect circle on this low hill. 4 of those remain as then, and I can confirm they do not move. To what ends, we don't know. There's a winter solstice alignment here and something odd about the angles of the stones. It is unlike any other circle I've seen, and think how famous this would be if it were down south. And if those cut marks are cut marks, they are very rare examples of this art form for the early Bronze Age. I hope you've enjoyed that as much as I have. Despite the restrictions of the weather and the inability to get the drone up, it's been great coming here. I've wanted to visit this place for a long time. I hope you will make the effort to do so as well. Do come and visit the Duddo Five Stones, the Duddo Five Stones. Just leaves me to thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you don't already, and thank you to our members. Oh, Christ!